Hey fifth graders, this week in garden class what we're going to be doing is we are going to be making our Mars greenhouses, so our terrariums. We're going to close them up, we are going to prep them, and we are going to see if we can get something to grow. Alright, so we're going to be working on this sheet, which gives us an overview of some of the differences between our atmosphere and the atmosphere on Mars. And then we're also going to be looking at this sheet, which has the step-by-step directions on how to make our Mars greenhouse. Hopefully I gave you everything that you'll need, okay? You're probably going to need some soil. I didn't give you soil. So if you can go out and get some soil, pause the video, go out, get some soil. You can dig it up from your yard, maybe, the side of your building, wherever you think it's okay to take just a little bit of soil. You need 3 spoonfuls probably. Okay, you're not going to need a ton of soil. It doesn't have to be perfect soil, all right? So don't worry, it doesn't have to be like brand new soil. You can go wherever you need to in your neighborhood. 3 little scoops of soil into your jar, okay? And then we're going to talk about our Mars greenhouse, okay? So this sheet. And so what you're going to do is go ahead and get out your kit and some soil. All right, so hopefully you're back. You might have some soil now. This is soil, again, I just got from outside. Okay, kind of dug it up out of the garden. Tried to make sure it didn't have too much debris in it. You're going to go ahead and have your Mars terrarium handy, okay, because this is what you're going to work with. And then out of your garden kit, you're actually going to be getting the seeds, okay? And so in here, I included some seeds in a tube. So if you go into your garden kit, okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get this little tube out that has some seeds in it. And this is what you're going to try to get to grow in your Mars terrarium, all right? These are actually really cool seeds. I tried to tie them into space. These are Zinnia seeds, which Zinnia is a type of flower, and it grows here. But why Zinnia is really cool is it is the first flower that was grown in space on the International Space Station. So it's already grown in space. There he is. It should grow on Mars if anything can, right? So you've got your Zinnia seeds. You've got your Mars terrarium, okay? Go ahead and open your Mars terrarium up, and you can take out, I'll go over what's in here, okay? You've got a thermometer sticker. You have a bag, this is fertilizer. You have some steel wool, and you have some pH strips, okay? And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your Mars terrarium, and you're just going to put it off to the side, but have it ready to go, okay? So again, we have our dirt that we're going to add to it, and we have all the different components that we're going to put in there, all right? So go ahead, lay that all out, get ready to go, and then we're going to start talking about some of the different things and why we have steel wool, right? Because steel wool isn't usually something we put in our garden, in our plants. But there's an important reason why we're doing this in our Mars greenhouse. So you can read along with me. I'm going to read the top of this sheet. Now it is time to tie all your learning together and build a prototype Mars greenhouse to prove that you can succeed at growing plants on a new planet. We will be sealing the terrarium and watching as your plant either thrives or dies with no intervention from you. Things you will need to think about as you design your greenhouse are the water cycle. So remember our Ziploc bag, right, that we put in the window where we added the water evaporated, okay, and it came back down. So you're going to be thinking about your water cycle because you cannot add water once it's sealed. So whatever water's in there is what the plant will have to survive on. Too much, and it can never leave, and too little, it can never get more. You will need to monitor the pH of your soil using litmus paper to ensure that it isn't too acidic or basic. So remember with those butterfly pea flowers, right? We took it, we added some water to it, it made that beautiful blue color, and then when we added things like lemon juice, what happened? It changed color, right? And so these litmus tests papers are the same thing as the butterfly pea flowers. All right? So this ensures that your soil is going to be neutral, all right, and not too acidic or too basic. You'll need to ensure that the plant is getting enough light, but not too much direct sunlight, since it can heat up the greenhouse to an unhealthy temperature very quickly. You'll need to monitor the temperature using the thermometer that you will place on the jar. All right, so this gives you the scope, okay? Greenhouses on Mars and Earth. So here are 2 side-by-side comparisons that we're going to go over now. So Mars, right, has a warm environment, Earth a warm environment. Greenhouses on both offer UV protection. So on Mars, right, greenhouses protect against wind, rain, hail, and snow. If you're in Seattle in wintertime and you have a greenhouse, your plants are safe, right? But on Mars, the greenhouse is protecting more against dust storms. Dust storms are quite prevalent. Okay, so that's something that the greenhouse would be protecting against. In Mars, you need to think about the increased atmospheric pressure. Here on Earth, we have the same atmospheric pressure inside and outside. Okay. On Mars, different atmospheric composition inside rather than outside. Okay. So inside your greenhouse might be a little bit different, or your terrarium. Let's see. And then always higher humidity and temperature than outside in your greenhouse. Okay. Here, usually higher humidity and temperature than the outside in a greenhouse on Earth. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to fill out my greenhouse was planted on. Choose the date. Today is Monday, May 24th for me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out Monday, May 24th, or just May 24th. The average daily temperature for the week. So right now, okay, if you're doing it this week, I'm just going to look at my phone real quick because that makes it pretty easy. Right now it's 61. Today it was 61. Tuesday 63. Wednesday 64. Ooh, Thursday it gets cold. It's 65. Friday 63. Saturday 68. So let's say mid-60s. Okay, so take a couple days. If you want to be very thorough, you're going to add 7 days together. Okay, the temperature for each 7 days, and then you're going to take that total and divide it by 7. All right, but you can also guess as well. So I'm going to, pretty much it averages out to be about 63 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to write 63, and then it says after 1 week, here are my, it says here are my observations. Here are my observations. Miss Alden did not get a grammar check there. Okay, so 63 degrees, and then your plant date, and then you're going to write your observations down here, okay, after you've planted it. So for now, we're going to go ahead and transfer over, and we are going to get planting our Mars greenhouse. All right, guys, so I have all my components here, the same components you should have. All right, you're going to go ahead and lay them all out. We're going to read through tips for a successful Martian greenhouse. All right, and so since your greenhouse is on Earth, solar irradiation is quite high. Therefore, it's best not to expose your greenhouse to direct sunlight for more than 5 to 10 minutes per day. So direct sunlight means like sticking it right in the window when sun is streaming through it. Okay. Stand or lay a small thermometer, the kind you see for attaching to coat zippers, in your ecosystem where it can be easily seen. So I went ahead and I gave you guys this thermometer. This is actually a sticker, so you can peel the back off. You can see here I kind of started to peel mine off. So you're going to take that back off. Now it doesn't quite fit on your jar this way, so you're just going to go ahead and around the top line right here, see that line? I am going to put this sticker all the way around the top. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that well, but anyway, right now, there's a faint blue outline around 72. Okay, and so that thermometer is telling me it's 72 right now. So once you put your sticker on there, okay, it's going to be able to tell you, again, you can kind of see my hand is getting on it, and that's causing it. Can you see the 76 kind of has a different, you can't really see it on the camera that well. But anyway, you'll start to, if you go like this, kind of rub your fingers back over it. Oh, now you should be able to see the 76 is starting to kind of get this square box around it. All right. So that's how you can tell the temperature right there, is it'll get a little box around it. All right. So we've gone ahead and put our thermometer on our terrarium. So next up, you're going to place a small piece of litmus paper in your ecosystem so you can monitor changes in the acid-base level of moisture within your ecosystem. All right, so that is this. This is that litmus paper. Remember, just like the butterfly pea flowers, okay, it's going to change color based on if it's acidic, okay, or alkaline. Alkaline is base. All right, a small amount, approximately 10 to 20 grams of steel wool, okay, washed with alcohol and rinsed with clean fresh water to remove grease, and then mixed with the soil will not only remove the excess oxygen from your greenhouse, rendering the atmosphere in the jar more Mars-like, it will also add iron oxides to the soil, making the soil more Mars-like too. Okay, and so I gave you some steel wool. So you want 10 to 20 grams, which do not put this whole thing in there. Okay, you're going to kind of just take a little bit off. All right, so for all intents and purposes, we're going to use about this much. All right, so remember, Mars is called the red planet. It's called the red planet because the coloring of the soil, okay, really has more iron in it. Let's see. So plants adapt well to most light and temperature conditions within a reasonable range, but they do not adapt well to frequent changes in their environment. Keep your Martian greenhouse in the same location, well lighted, and at a fairly constant temperature. So do you want to stick this into a window that gets like a ton of light in the afternoon and heats up really, really hot, and then in the morning it gets really, really cold because it doesn't have that much direct sunlight? Probably not. Okay, you want to kind of put it somewhere where it's going to be not getting a ton of direct sunlight, okay, and a pretty constant temperature. Try to avoid standing water in your greenhouse. So before you add the carbon dioxide atmosphere, check that the soil is moist but not saturated, and that the inside bottom of the jar is just wet enough that the water does not run from side to side within the jar when it's tilted. All right, and then you're going to add a few drops of liquid indoor plant fertilizer added to the jar according to the manufacturer's directions will help stabilize the plants in their new environment. If you use the vinegar and baking soda method to produce carbon dioxide, you will notice that it produces a large amount of foam and mist. Be careful not to inadvertently allow any of the foam or mist into your greenhouse jar. Okay. Experience has shown that in a sample of 10 or 12 micro-ecosystems, some will survive only a few weeks, while others will last a few months, and rarely a few will survive more than a year. The challenge is to determine, if possible, the reasons for the failure of some and the successes of others. All right, so this is kind of our go-to sheet. What we're going to do now is we're going to build the terrarium. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead. Okay, I'll move this sheet out of the way. Gone over some of the pitfalls. We have our zinnia seeds that we're going to see if we can get to germinate. We have a little bit of steel wool. We have our litmus paper, and then we have our soil. Okay, so you're going to take your soil and dump it in. And I have mine in just like a little pot that I was using as a scoop. Okay, so you can see, again, I'm not filling the whole thing up. Okay, it's about up to this line here. Okay, soil-wise. So I've got my soil in there. Perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of steel wool. Okay, again, this is kind of making that Martian surface a little bit more. Okay, adding in that, there we go, component. All right, so we've got our steel wool. And then this is fertilizer. So what you're going to do is you're just going to add a little pinch of fertilizer. Okay, I gave you plenty, but you don't want to dump the whole thing in. All right, you're going to do a little pinch. All right, perfect. So we've done our fertilizer. The seeds are still here. We're not going to do the seeds quite yet because what I recommend doing is I have a little spray bottle full of water. I'm going to just spray in here. Okay, and so you can see it's kind of misted along the sides. There we go. And if you don't have a spray bottle, you can just pour a little water in. You don't want to add too much. And then all I'm going to do, I put the lid on. You can see here's all the water. Okay, I'm going to kind of shake it around and around. I'm not shaking up and down. Okay, I'm just shaking around and around. If you do up and down, you're going to get soil that's all over the sides, and you don't really want that. Okay, so you want, when you open it, okay, you want it to be able to kind of, if you pinch it, it's going to stick together, the soil, and not fall apart, but you don't want to like squeeze water out of it. That means it's too wet. Okay, so this is actually pretty good. You can see it's kind of staying on my fingers. Okay, it's definitely moist, but not soaking wet. All right, so I'm going to try to make sure that that steel wool is under the soil. I'm going to use a pencil to just kind of push it back down if you don't want to get your hands super dirty. Okay, there we go. Kind of bury it. I'm going to get some of the dirt off the sides because if that dirt stays on the sides, okay, it's not going to let in quite as much light, right? And you want your little plant to have some light. Okay, so I've got all this. Okay, I kind of took there's still a little bit of crumbs on the side, but that's fine. Okay, and so next up, you're going to take it, and you're going to get out your little zinnia seed. The little zinnia seed that could. And you can see these seeds are definitely not round. They're bigger than some of the other ones. You can do 3 seeds if you want, okay? Because remember we talked about germination rates, maybe 2 seeds. Germination rates with our tomato plants. You kind of did that experiment, right? It's not 100% germination. So maybe we're going to do 2. If we do get 2 to germinate, we'll see what happens. Hopefully at least 1 will germinate, okay? 1 would be a 50% germination success rate. So we're going to take our 2 little zinnia seeds. We're going to plop them on the top. Plop. You can kind of see them right there. And then all you do is take a little pencil, and you don't want to shove them down to the bottom of your jar because they don't need to be down that far. You're just going to put them right under the top of the soil pretty much. Okay, and then kind of just use your pencil and cover them up. Tuck them in nice and light. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Okay, can't see them now, right? I'm going to put one more little spray of water on top just so I know those seeds are moist. And then I'm going to take my litmus paper, okay, and I'm going to stick this kind of on the side into the soil. And this is going to kind of tell me the acidity of my soil so I can monitor it, right? Because it might start changing too, so you're going to keep an eye on it. Okay, if you want to, I gave you 2 strips. If you want to kind of put 1 on each side, you could do that too. Okay, since I have some of that water that I sprayed on the side, it's already kind of getting a little bit moist on the litmus strip. Again, you can use that pencil. Pencils come in handy with terrariums because they help you kind of stick your fingers in where they need to go. All right, so now I have my 2 litmus papers on the side. I have my 2 zinnia seeds planted in here. And now it's time for the true sealing ceremony. So you're just going to seal it up, okay, and twist nice and tight. Perfect. Okay, I don't want to jostle it too much, but you can see, I'll hold it up to the other camera in a second. You can see I've got my fertilizer in here, okay. I've got the steel wool, which helps account for the Martian atmosphere, all right. I've got my thermometer here, so you can see, I can see it's 72 right now degrees in my little thing. Okay, I'm going to put this in a decently warm room, but again, not a ton of direct sunlight. Okay, but right now, most areas in my house are getting, at least I have one window that's getting pretty direct, or indirect sun, not direct sun. Okay, and that's where I'm going to stick this so it's kind of a constant temperature. And you can go ahead and record that temperature on there too. If you see that your thing's getting up into 86, that zinnia seed's probably not going to be too happy. Okay, so you need to figure out something that it's going to like. All right, so you guys have now built your Mars terrarium. You can see this vantage point gives you a really good idea. Okay, we've gone ahead and we've gone over all of our pitfalls that might happen, right? We've talked about how the Martian atmosphere is definitely a little bit different. Okay, the main thing is soil composition. And so that's why we added that little bit of steel wool. You can see here on my thermometer, you can see kind of the blue outline here around the 72. So you're going to keep an eye on it. Okay. Again, you don't want it to spike. If it's going to start spiking and say it's 90 degrees or 86 or whatever it is, okay, you're probably going to want to put it somewhere else. It's going to want nice, even temperatures. But you're going to see if you can get your zinnia to germinate. Okay, that's your goal. So hopefully you've planted 2 little zinnia seeds in here. Okay, again, the water cycle, you can see it on the side. It's not going to be able to leave. So whatever evaporates is going to come back down. All right, and you're going to tie it all together. Germination rate, the pH level, you're going to monitor that. Okay, all that good stuff. And then see if you can get it to be a little zinnia plant. I will be super impressed, and I would love to hear about it. So best of luck. Way to go. I love how we tied everything together, and hopefully you guys will have fun challenging yourselves, seeing if you can grow your own little Mars terrarium.